Okay, we're doing the pre-roll now for 10-second countdown, and let me just get some things out of the way. We don't need this up here. Do we need that to be on automatic? Let's put it back on automatic. I don't know. All right, that's better actually. We are July 5, 2015. Let's go.
Nightcast. Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth brings you the current news from the world today and how it relates to Bible prophecy. Understanding the end-time events leading to the peaceful world tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this July 5, 2015 Sunday night edition of Nightcast. Opening story tonight, with almost all the ballots counting, results from the Greek referendum show voters decisively rejecting the terms of an international bailout. Figures published by the Interior Ministry showed about 61% of those whose ballots had been counted voted no, against 39% voting yes. Katya Adler reports from Athens.
There was quite some celebration in central Athens tonight. Greece's no voters felt proud of themselves. Like their controversial prime minister, they stood up today to their country's powerful creditors, the IMF and the European Union. After 5 years of hopeless austerity misery, their message was clear. No more. But what now?
I don't know what is going to my country tomorrow. I don't know. I hope they come to a compromise, but I don't know.
No money, δεν πειράζει.
There's no money, but little by little we'll be okay. We're hungry before, and now we'll stay hungry. But at least we stood up today to Angela Merkel.
The no voters here in Syntagma Square are delighted to have got their voice of protest heard. But behind the music and the celebration is a sense of confusion and of fear. Whatever Greeks voted today, yes or no, the vast majority say they want to stay inside the eurozone. But will that be possible? Greek banks are shut and fast running out of money, and no one knows what's going to happen tomorrow. Television coverage of the referendum here was as self-conscious as it was dramatic. Greeks know the rest of Europe is watching, with bated breath. The impact of today's vote will be felt not only in Greece, but throughout the eurozone. Buoyed by the backing of their people, which they say strengthens their bargaining position, the Greek government now is upbeat about finding a new bailout deal.
With this no, we will try to cooperate with our partners, and we will invite them one by one to see if we can find some common ground, and we will try to be positive. As of tomorrow, Greece will go back to the negotiation tables, and our primary priority is to reinstate the financial stability of the country.
But is that realistic? Or are Greeks celebrating the no vote tonight, dancing on the edge of a precipice? Greece now has to wait for the reaction of its eurozone partners. It could just have taken a big step closer to falling out of the single currency. Katya Adler, BBC News, Athens.
Okay, thank you, Kathleen Adler. How will other eurozone countries respond to the Greek no vote? Robert Preston reports.
The Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras said tonight he didn't want a rupture with Europe, but he may not be able to avoid a rupture with the euro. I learned earlier today that Greek banks are just days away from running out of cash. That's days away from collapse, or what Alexis Tsipras described, actually in words also used by a Greek banker to me, as a humanitarian disaster. It would mean Greeks losing huge chunks of their saving. It would make it almost impossible for Greece to import vital medicines, vital raw materials for their companies. It would be an economic disaster. Now, what Greek banks need are emergency loans. The European Central Bank cut off those loans a week ago and is showing no signs of providing those loans in the next 24 to 48 hours, no matter how desperately the Greek government would like them to do that, which leaves the Greek government with really one of only two choices. The European Central Bank could, off its own bat, and ignoring the European Central Bank, make emergency euro loans to those banks, but that would be seen by many eurozone government heads as a de facto withdrawal from the euro. They would be furious. Or the Greek government could explicitly decide to recreate the new drachma in order to prop up its banks. Now, that fear tonight of Greek Greek exit from the euro is weighing on governments, it's weighing on central banks, and it's weighing on investors. It's going to be an extraordinarily hairy day on markets tomorrow.
The Prime Minister of Greece, Alexis Tsipras, has made a televised address to the Greek nation. He said the publication of an IMF report which said Greece should be given 20 years to recover was, quote, an event of major political importance. You'll hear in this video Mr. Tsipras say it was up to the Greek public in Sunday's referendum, today's referendum, to decide what happens next.
Χθες είχαμε ένα γεγονός βαρύνουσας πολιτικής σημασίας.
Yesterday, an event of major political importance happened. The IMF published a report on Greece's economy, which is a great vindication for the Greek government, as it confirms the obvious: the Greek debt is not sustainable. They are saying there should be a 30% haircut, and we should be given 20 years to get back on track. This proposal has never been put forward by the lenders, despite 5 months of negotiations. It's left to the Greek public to decide on Sunday. The IMF is justifying our decision not to accept the austerity measures of the loan.
And friends, we go now to a story that will relate to the first seal from the book of Revelation. The present stories we were just running in tonight's early part of the program relate to, relate to the fourth seal in the sense that, although predominantly the fourth seal, as God showed us through his apostle, Mr. Herbert Armstrong, relates to what Jesus Christ said in plain language as loimas, disease epidemics, pestilence, the plagues of Egypt. But Christ also said that between the third and the fifth seal there would be seismus, there would be seismic activity, commotions in the air, gale force winds of all kinds, and commotions on the ground, such as the Greek English lexicons say earthquakes, but commotions on the ground also of a seismic nature also include volcanic eruptions. Of course, they spew ash and smoke up into the air, so that's commotions in the air also. But other things too, tsunamis, wildfires, floods, all of that kind of thing are commotions on the ground. But Christ also said that between the third seal and the fifth seal there would be tereke. He said that in Mark 13, verse 8, or that at least that's where it was recorded that he said that, which means trouble, roiling waters, both literally and figuratively, mobs and seditions, trouble, not the mega trouble of the fifth seal, the Great Tribulation, as the King James Version calls it, but trouble that leads up to the formation of the revival of the Holy Roman Empire in one emperor, one head that the Bible calls a beast, given their power by 10 concurrent rulers of nations, regions, 10 rulers, even possibly around the world. We'll have to see how that God works that out when we get there. But all of a sudden, there will be one emperor who will be crowned by a false prophet, by the church system that's always associated itself with the Roman Empire, and then because of their association of the Roman Catholic Church, the Roman Empire is then called the Holy Roman Empire. And there's one last revival of that Holy Roman Empire to come, and when it comes, that'll be the beginning of the fifth seal and the Great Tribulation and all that means. The beginning of round 3 of World War, a great persecution of God's church, many people martyred. It'll be the time of 2 witnesses and the time that those who are watching world news that relates to the Bible and prophecy that relates to these seals will be, and who are praying from the bottom of their hearts, praying always, will be flown to a place of protection that God provides. But these seals, the fourth seal is the trouble, and we've been seeing that in Greece. All of that could lead up to the formation of those 10 nations or regions that give their power to one emperor, one dictator, as if it were, again, crowned by the Pope, the false prophet, and reviving the Holy Roman Empire. Now, the Pope is in the news tonight. We just mentioned that that's part of the fourth seal, the first seal. That's part of those 4 seals being, in fact, the first one, which is depicted in Revelation as a white horse, which Jesus Christ described as religious deception. Many would come in my name, Christ said, saying that I, Jesus Christ, am in fact the Christ, and yet they would deceive many, Christ said, Jesus said. Or Jesus the Christ said, because he's one and the same, both by the 2 different, one the name and the other the title. When Pope Francis arrived in Latin America this weekend, similarly to what happened when he arrived in Manila in January this year, his little cap, his little white hood, blew off in the wind as he stepped off the airplane. But huge crowds were expected as millions of the faithful in Ecuador, Bolivia, and Paraguay turned out to see the man they call the Papa of the Poor, the Pope of the Poor. But the enthusiastic reception masked challenges facing the church. More people are turning to evangelical alternatives or away from religion entirely. The BBC's Ignacio de los Reyes spoke to Irene and Maria, 2 women with opposing views on the Pope's visit. And we need to give credit, friends, to BBC video journalist Joe Inwood for this video special on the Pope's visit. It'll include subtitles, and for those of you who are listening on a podcast and not seeing video, I'll do my best to read the subtitles to you as this video plays. A Tale of 2 Churches. My name is Irene Casillas. I live in Quito, the capital of Ecuador. My name is Maria. I'm married, and I live in Puente Siete. My family are Catholics. They are very spiritual, very close to the faith. I was taught to be that way, but now I have a different opinion. We always come here to Canacoto to attend Mass because you need to be close to God.
Porque siempre hay que estar cerca a Dios.
I think the Catholic Church should get rid of the material things to offer a better future for the people who really need that kind of help. Not just spiritual assistance, but financial aid. Financial aid.
ayuda espiritual, sino también ayuda económica.
Popes have always been in touch with poor people, but Pope Francis even more so, because it seems he is much closer to poor and humble people. To begin with, I think they should approach people on low incomes, to get closer to people who use drugs, people who are involved in crime. He is much more direct in his preaching. He doesn't mumble. He just says the words. He wants to say, I think he is clearer in his message. I hope he will be the best Pope. Really, it's not like the arrival of the Pope will be the solution to all our problems. It's only going to be the momentary thing. As soon as he's gone, things will go back to normal. Poverty will still be there. It's never going to disappear, as no one will do anything to fight it. And friends, that's it on that special report. And that's it for this Sunday night edition of Nightcast. Thanks for joining me tonight, friends. God willing, and the creek don't rise. We'll be back again tomorrow night on Nightcast with the Monday night edition of the day's current news related to the Bible and prophecy. Until next time, this is your host, Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth, saying so long and good night, friends.
You have been watching Nightcast with Stephen Lloyd Gilbreth. Nightcast can be seen Sunday through Thursday nights here on cogtv.org. Tonight's program is also available anytime on demand in the cogtv.org video archive.